skin crawl? Someone who seemed normal at first, but every glance, every small gesture felt just a little too strange? Tonight, you'll all hear the story of a man who moved into what he thought was the perfect neighborhood. But behind the quiet streets and smiling faces, something darker was watching. And once he noticed it, there was no turning back. This is not just a story about a creepy neighbor. It's about how close real horror can live to your own front door. When Adrian first moved into his new home, he thought he had finally found peace. The quiet suburban street seemed perfect, well-kept lawns, children playing until dusk, and neighbors who waved politely as he unloaded boxes. After years of living in the chaos of the city, this felt like a sanctuary. But peace never lasts when something sinister hides behind closed doors. From the first week, he noticed the man next door, tall, thin, and pale, with dark circles under his eyes. His name, according to another neighbor, was Mr. Callahan. He didn't talk much, didn't attend block gatherings, and never seemed to leave his house during the day. At first, Adrian brushed it off. Not everyone was social, and he preferred quiet himself. But then came the first unsettling moment. One night, around 2 a.m., Adrian woke to use the bathroom. Passing by the window, he noticed movement in the yard. There, under the glow of the street lamp, stood Mr. Callahan facing Adrian's house, completely still, his eyes fixed on the upstairs window. Adrian froze. Maybe he was just out for air? But the way he stood rigid, expressionless, unblinking sent a chill crawling up Adrian's spine. The next morning, he convinced himself it was nothing. Maybe insomnia, maybe stress. But the following night, it happened again. This time, Callahan stood closer, at the edge of Adrian's lawn, his pale face tilted upward, staring directly at Adrian's bedroom window. Adrian told himself not to panic. He decided to test it. He flicked the light on and off, expecting the man to flinch, to react, to do something. But Callahan didn't move an inch. He just kept staring, as if carved from stone. Adrian didn't sleep that night. Instead, he stayed up, peering through the blinds. Hours passed. Callahan didn't leave until the first hint of sunlight spread across the street. The next day, Adrian tried to confront him casually. He walked over, introduced himself, and said, "Hey, I think I saw you outside last night." Callahan just stared, his lips twitching slightly as if forming a smile, but never quite making it. He didn't answer. He simply turned, unlocked his door, and disappeared inside. By the third night, Adrian was sweating with unease. At exactly 2 a.m., the same flicker of movement drew his eyes to the yard. And there he was again, closer than before. This time, Adrian swore he could hear faint breaths through the stillness. Something wasn't right. This wasn't a coincidence. And then Adrian realized something that made his stomach drop. Mr. Callahan wasn't looking at the window anymore. He was staring directly at the spot where Adrian stood behind the blinds. Adrian stumbled backward from the window, his breath caught in his throat. There was no way Callahan could see him through the tiny gap in the blinds, but those eyes, locked straight onto his, told another story. He yanked the curtains shut and sat in the darkness, his pulse hammering like a drum. The following morning, Adrian tried to shake it off. He told himself he was being paranoid, that maybe Callahan's gaze had been a coincidence. But as he poured his coffee, he noticed something on his porch, a small folded piece of paper wedged under the doormat. With trembling hands, he opened it. The message was short, scrawled in shaky handwriting. "I know you're awake." Adrian's stomach turned. He glanced across the yard, but Callahan's house looked lifeless, curtains drawn. No sound, no movement. The note could have been from anyone, he reasoned, but deep down, he knew. That night, Adrian stayed up again, determined to catch him in the act. He sat by the window with his phone ready, the camera app open. Minutes turned to hours, and just as his eyelids began to grow heavy, the porch light flickered. Adrian's chest tightened. Slowly, carefully, he pulled the blinds apart. There he was. Callahan stood in the yard, closer than ever, his face partially hidden in shadow. This time, though, he wasn't alone. Adrian's eyes widened as he noticed a second figure, smaller, crouched beside him in the dark. A child? A woman? He couldn't tell. The figure moved unnaturally, jerking in sharp, broken motions, like a puppet with tangled strings. Adrian's phone shook in his hand as he tried to record, but when he looked back at the screen, the yard was empty. Just like that, gone. His breathing grew shallow. He checked again, lifting the blinds higher, but the yard was deserted. Still, the heavy feeling of being watched clung to him like ice water down his back. By morning, Adrian was exhausted, but he couldn't bring himself to sleep. He paced the living room until he heard the sound of footsteps outside his front door. Heavy, deliberate, he froze, straining his ears. The footsteps stopped right outside, and then 3 slow knocks echoed through the house. Adrian's heart nearly burst from his chest. He stood frozen, staring at the door, phone in hand, unsure if he should call the police. Finally, he mustered the courage to look through the peephole. The porch was empty, but as he backed away, his phone buzzed with a new message. His number, unknown sender. Stop looking out the window. Adrian's grip went cold. The message came at 2:06 a.m., the exact moment he had peered through the blinds the night before. Adrian couldn't take it anymore. The notes, the stares, the messages, he was being pushed to the edge. That morning, running on nothing but caffeine and fear, he finally decided to call the police. The officer listened patiently, but gave him the same dismissive tone Adrian dreaded. Maybe your neighbor has insomnia. Unless he's trespassing, there isn't much we can do. Just keep your doors locked. Adrian wanted to scream. He showed them the note, the text, even pointed out Callahan's house. The officer promised to swing by later, but Adrian could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe a word. As the day dragged on, Adrian felt eyes on him every moment. While mowing the lawn, he caught Callahan standing in his own window, half hidden behind the curtains, smiling faintly. Not the warm smile of a neighbor, something thinner, colder, stretched across his pale face like a mask. That night, Adrian resolved to end it. He set up cameras, one on the porch, one by the living room window. He wanted proof. Something he could shove in the officer's face. 2 a.m., like clockwork. The footage showed the porch light flicker. Adrian leaned closer to the screen as a tall figure stepped into view. Callahan. He wasn't just standing in the yard this time. He was at Adrian's door, leaning his ear against it, listening. Adrian's chest tightened as the figure backed away. But then, another shape appeared. The same smaller figure from before, its limbs twitching unnaturally, head lolling from side to side. It crawled across the lawn, stopping right beneath Adrian's window. Adrian nearly dropped the monitor. He rushed to the blinds, pulled them open a fraction, and froze. The childlike figure was there, its neck bent at an impossible angle, its mouth hanging wide open in a silent scream. The eyes, black, hollow pits that seemed to drink in the light around them. Adrian stumbled back, clutching his mouth to keep from screaming. When he dared to peek again, the yard was empty. Just grass swaying in the cold wind. Panicked, Adrian replayed the footage. His heart dropped. On the recording, the lawn was empty. No Callahan, no child, just static and flickering light. Suddenly, a knock rattled through the house. Sharp, rapid, almost frantic. Adrian's phone buzzed again. A message from the same unknown number. Let us in. Adrian's hands shook as he backed toward the kitchen, every instinct screaming to run, to get out. But he knew whatever was happening wasn't just outside anymore. It was already here. And when he turned toward the dark hallway, He saw at his bedroom door upstairs, creaking open slowly, as if someone had just walked inside. Adrian's chest tightened as the creak echoed from upstairs. His legs felt like lead, but something pulled him toward the staircase. Each step groaned beneath his weight, the silence of the house broken only by his shallow breaths. The bedroom door stood open just a crack, swaying slightly as though inviting him in. He clutched the banister, forcing himself to push forward. With trembling fingers, he nudged the door wider. The room was dark, curtains drawn tight. But there on the bed lay another note. His stomach dropped as he leaned in to read it. "You should have stayed in the city." Behind him, the floorboards creaked. Slowly, Adrian turned. Callahan stood in the hallway. His pale face glowed faintly in the dark, lips stretched into that same unnatural smile. But what froze Adrian in place was the figure standing beside him, the childlike thing, its head still twisted, its hollow eyes fixed on Adrian. "Why are you doing this?" Adrian's voice cracked. Neither answered. Callahan only raised a finger and pointed directly at Adrian's bed. Before Adrian could react, the figure lurched forward, crawling across the floor with impossible speed. He stumbled back, tripping over the dresser, his scream catching in his throat. He blinked just once, and they were gone. The room was empty, but the smell of damp earth lingered in the air, and on the pillow where Adrian should have been sleeping, dirt and small footprints stained the sheets. Adrian fled that night, leaving everything behind. Weeks later, new owners moved into the house. They smiled at the friendly neighborhood, waved at the quiet man next door, and settled in. And when the clock struck 2 a.m., the porch light flickered.